Hello there, and welcome back to the Dev Game Club podcast. Each series of episodes dives deep into a classic game and explores its relevance yesterday and today. I'm Brett Duville, and I'm joined each week by my co-host, the Bruce to my Jack, the KLL to my Lex.
Tim Longo.
That's you.
Oh, jeez.
Ah, jeez. At least you get to be the hero.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. I was going to do something about you being bald, but I went by it.
Oh, thank you.
I left that for the commentary instead.
It's good radio. Good radio. On being bald.
Yeah.
Nobody knows that, probably.
Yeah. I think they probably do.
Maybe.
It's our moms who listen.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Not even our moms.
Yeah, and not even our moms.
Does your mom listen?
No, she does not.
Yeah, no.
They were unaware, blissfully, that we even have one. Well, we should probably get right into it. We've got 6 levels to tackle again this week, which are basically grouped into 3 sort of related mini-stories. Sort of like they were last time. You know, I think the first 3 are kind of more closely tied together than the second 3, though I don't feel like there's quite the overall narrative arc that I felt in that other one, you know.
Yeah.
This is more go to a building and, you know, kill everybody in it too. But let's get to that. So the first one's this basement killing. And boy, did I, feel like they were targeting their audience, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're a bit. We've talked about this before, I forget, but they're a bit notorious in their stereotypes, kind of across the board. There's been some other stereotypes in previous levels that we didn't really dwell on that aren't really worth dwelling on, especially in the gender direction, and I think they kind of have always gotten a little bit of flack for that. For good reason, but this particular one hits closer to home.
Yeah, for sure. So you're sent to take out. It's the most bizarre setup I think in the mission briefing.
I was going to mention that too. Yeah, you should cover it.
Because you're sent. You're told you're going to go and take out this basically top hacker, who. I don't even know what he's doing. If he's destabilizing markets, I mean, he's doing something. But he's like this, mastermind hacker or something like that. And then the video you get to show him to you is of like a 5-year-old kid. Yeah. Like, what is that about?
He's 6, yeah.
Yeah, 6-year-old kid. And, well, we should probably get to this later. But he also has a twin. So they filmed this kid alone playing ball, like the biggest, dorkiest kid, at 6 years old. Like, he can't pick up the ball. He can't throw it any distance. Like, he's basically me when I was 6. And
it's you now. What do you mean?
Well, thanks so much. Mm-hmm. Hey, I coached multiple years of, 8, 9, 10-year-old baseball, and I could almost throw it as hard as they could.
Good.
Anyway. And he's apparently a twin. Where's this other kid?
Like, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Birthday party where I feel bad for this kid I'm about to go and kill. Even though I know he's not a kid anymore. I'm actively feeling bad for this kid because he's so lonely and his parents are probably wealthy and because they've got this land or whatever. There's nobody else around. They've got a video camera, and they're filming him be a dork in, I guess, Malaysia where he's throwing this ball around. But where's his brother? That's so weird.
I didn't even think about that until you mentioned it. But I had totally forgotten this setup. I remember the hacker, but I don't remember the video. Maybe I didn't watch the video originally, but there was this split second where I was like, wait, I wasn't listening very well or something, and I was like, wait a second, are we gonna kill a kid? I was like, what is going on here? And I expected the actual target of his father of the kid, to come onto the screen.
Right, and be the actual target.
Yeah, and then I was like, why this is the last video they had, and it felt like a super weird. But again, these, all of the Hitman games, they tend to want to be, throwing a little controversy and shock, value in some of that stuff. The one quick aside I will mention that also relates to a video in the second set of missions we played in this episode. I actually think, with the exception of this weird kid video, the surveillance videos that they have for the mission briefings are actually kind of cool usually. Like, they're unexpected. Right. They show kind of odd, you mentioned it in last episode too, they show this kind of odd moments for these characters that give you tell you a lot about the characters with a little bit of work. And later on, for one of the guys in the next one, they have a similar thing. And I kind of applaud them for those.
I think that's actually true of this kid as well. I mean, it's a very humanizing moment. To pick this video of this kid and like, you sort of get the sense that he's like a boy genius, so he's maybe 20 or something like that when you're going to go hit him. So you've got this sense that he is probably still kind of this baby-faced, chubby cheek kind of kid.
Yeah.
That hasn't maybe grown into be fully an adult. And at the same time, morally almost feels like he may be pretty much at the same level he was where he was a kid. Like, he's just playing around with numbers on a screen, right? He's kind of, not developed in some way.
Yeah.
So
the
this
visuals...
was probably the most torn I was, like going into this mission. And then, of course, 5 minutes into it, I was like, I want to kill everybody on this level because it was driving me crazy.
Oh, yeah. So tell me about that. What do you mean?
Well,
with the lobby
I had
and
a
everything?
plan. Right, the lobby. So you go into this building where he is, and he's in the basement, the second basement again. So you're going to have to go down a couple of levels. Once I got to that, actually, I really quite enjoyed the level. But the initial level is sort of like, I don't know, it's like an extended version of the lobby in the first Matrix movie, where there's like a checkpoint you got to go through where they're going to check you for weapons, and there's a few different ways in. They're going to scan you, and if you have any metal on you, it's going to go off and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, I got to get through there. And I immediately keyed on what I wanted to do, which was I saw the notice about, the guy 2 floors down wants a pizza.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, well, there's my in. Like, I'm going to go in, I'll drop my weapons. I've done that before. So I finally felt like some of the systems of the game that I had kind of stumbled upon before, I was like, okay, I know right what I want to do immediately. But I had the same level of execution difficulty of just like getting into places and then like having somebody see me and certain things I would tend to forget, and I don't know, like you can't walk around with a fiber wire in your hand. It's a weapon, and if they see you, everybody goes haywire. Just stuff like that. But I also spent a lot of time just kind of in the rooms on the edges figuring out, well, do I want to go in and try to be a fireman? There's some firemen who are like totally garbed up with a helmet and mask, gas mask style. And then there's the pizza delivery service, which is right in the building. I don't know why they don't just have it right next to the kid's office, because obviously that's where they're going all the time. And then there are some guards. There are a couple of like secretary types and a couple of MBA types, I'll say. They kind of look like you, except they're different color ties and things like that, and not bald. So they don't look like you, Tim, but you know what I
mean. All right, good callback.
Mm-hmm. It's all about callbacks in radio. So I spent a lot of time in that initial lobby area figuring out what I wanted to do, and I felt like I had options to do other things and was stymied to do them. Like there's a laundry room.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'll just slide down the laundry chute. That is so like La Femme Nikita.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I couldn't... Did you try that? I couldn't get that to activate for it. I couldn't...
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about your what you did with your weapons. Because the laundry chute is there to throw your weapons down.
So dumb me.
Get them
I never think
past,
of things like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I did originally try to get down there myself. That was my plan. I was like, oh, yeah, I totally remember I went down the laundry chute last time. And then I was like, oh, wait, I must have not gone there. Because I definitely tried. And then I was like, wait a second. And I pulled my weapon out, or my silenced pistol. And then it gave me the option to put it down there.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so I kind of happened upon that. It definitely wasn't very user-friendly.
No, it's not. And although, okay, so that makes sense. Like now, I can sort of see where I might have been able to get the silent assassin on the level because I didn't. I think I got professional on this level, which is pretty high.
Yeah,
But I did have to kill a few guards more than I expected. But I ended up, anesthetizing the pizza kid in the bathroom. Mm-hmm. What I've learned over my time playing this game is that it's almost always beneficial to just sit at the beginning of the game with the map open, and just watch where everybody goes. Like identify who's which. So maybe run around once and just get a sense of wherever everybody is at the start and what different types of characters you have, and then reload, start again, and just hit the map button and just sit there and watch where all those people go.
Yeah. So
that you can draw a plan at least that far, like your initial level. Here you're going to go down another level and then a level beyond that, although that second level is very simple. But you're going to kind of descend deeper and deeper, and it's kind of, you can't plan all that out.
Yeah, and if I can interject really quick.
Yeah, no, go.
The thing I love about your map point about starting a level, and also I'll do like a mid-level map kind of, I'll save and then I'll do a mid-level map kind of assessment. But I don't remember I think I have an example in my notes later in one of the other missions, but watching the world play out via the map, because it's a real-time map and it doesn't stop when you're looking at it, it's kind of, there can be some cool moments where you can kind of suss out what the behaviors are and how they scripted things. And to your point, last week I think we talked about the difference between the systemic stuff and the scripted stuff. And guards are on patrols, but there's always influencers and catalysts that they will have in there that will change their patrols in some way. And that can be you, but it can be, it can be you, but it also can be other things, kind of based sometimes on just the way that things kind of play out, and probably are semi-emergent or accidental.
Right. Yeah, it is really fun to watch. I mean, it's funny because, of course, when I started playing games, the map is like the level of graphics that we probably had for those games, right? So, like for me, I'm very comfortable dropping into the map now that I know that I'm going to learn so much through it. And it took me a while to get sort of comfortable with doing that. This level starts really well in that you basically can just jump right into the map and you're in a hidden spot, so you're going to be fine. Like, that's what I learned, I guess, on that embassy level last week, was like, get out of sight, okay, check the map, start looking at patterns, figure out who's who, and you can even sort of tell yourself little narratives about what's going on when you're looking at that map, because you can tell non-combatants from guards and your target. So there's like different colors. I think there's actually 4 colors. I feel like there's a blue color, which might be a friendly, like actually, or maybe a don't kill this target type target.
I forget what blue is. Yeah, there's white.
And there's white too. That's true. Yeah.
Usually, your informant or somebody important to you, but that is friendly.
Aid of some kind. Yeah.
And then the other green ones that are friendlies.
Yeah. The blue ones turn up in the motorcade. We'll get to that later.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they don't. They must be do not kill.
Yeah, I think so. So there are like this, this abstract, sort of real-time board game look at the game, which is not so confusing, and you can sort of, it's entirely there to judge those patterns. And now I'm comfortable with that. And in fact, I got so good at it that I earned another silent assassin this time out.
Oh, really?
I did, and we'll get to that later in the second segment, because that's where it appears. But yeah, I got very comfortable with, doing the patience game. Like, I've been learning here, Tim. I've been listening. You tell me this is a patience simulator and a murder puzzle. I'm like, I get it. Yeah. It's a different thing than I'm used to.
Good, awesome.
So I've been
so
learning.
Proud.
Yeah, well, you're definitely a Superman to my Lex.
Yeah, that is actually fairly true. Other than I hate Superman, but we won't get into that.
Oh my God. If we don't get email, we're going to get it now.
Yeah, sorry, everybody.
Anyway, so I did like. I felt like I brushed up against the same sort of execution difficulty here.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
So you dropped your weapons then?
I did.
Because you had to go through the detector.
Right.
So you didn't have. Yeah. So you didn't have a silenced weapon down below.
But I had a fiber wire.
Yeah. Right.
So I was able to take out the target. So basically, I may have killed somebody beforehand because I was just trying. Oh, I killed the guy in the laundry room. Because I wanted to leave that area clear so I could go down the laundry chute. And he just came in. And so I hid behind something and I killed him. And I just kept playing. I think that's one of the things that I don't do is I don't go back after I've killed somebody that I probably don't need to. I just keep going. So often I think, like, I could probably get a higher rating if I started over and just ignored the, I didn't need to do that. And I just...
You're not after the perfect kind
right,
of...
Right, I'm not. And I don't, I don't really care. I sort of feel like often I come up with the ideal thing, like I said last time with the poisoned fish, the poisoned sushi. I kind of like, I know how that would have gone. I don't have the patience to do it again, but I know how I should have done it.
Yeah,
and there are occasions where that doesn't happen, and we'll get to that with the Jacuzzi one in particular. Where I just could not. I finally just was like, okay, I've got to get these other 3 levels played, so I'm just going to end this one now.
Yeah.
So I do kind of, from a time pressure thing, I do sometimes just move on. But yeah, so I killed the guard there, and then I got the pizza guy. He comes into the bathroom. I learned that from just sitting and watching the map. Oh, the guy goes to the bathroom. Good. Weirdly, there was one locked stall in one of the bathrooms that I found. Just locked. Nobody in it. Just locked. That was weird. Picked the lock because I'm like, there's something good in here. No, just locked.
Oh, you could actually pick the lock.
Yep.
That's weird, which is also not something that you do with stalls, but...
Yeah, it was totally strange. And then... it
was a practical joke somebody was playing on.
Yeah, exactly. There's some frat guys in the house. So I was the pizza kid, and then that basically let me go all the way down to the basement.
Yeah.
Because they know you're coming, right? And you're delivering pizza for this guy. So why don't you take it up from there? Did you do something similar?
I did pizza. I don't know why, but pizza delivery covers are just one of my favorite, or food delivery is just one of my favorite, because I just love the idea of walking by everybody in such an obvious manner. So those tend to be always the way I go with the Hitman games if they give me the option. So I went to that first. And
I just think of myself as John Cusack in Better Off Dead.
Ah, nice. Very good.
Yeah, thank you. Deep
good
cuts.
Reference. Yep. But I had thrown my pistol down the chute, so when I had gone down to the first basement, I had to take a detour to go get that pistol, and out of the laundry that's down on the first level of the basement. So I had to kind of maneuver some of the guards down there to do that. Otherwise, yeah. And let's see, I think I got a guard costume at one point, but I think it was after I killed the target. So yeah, so then we get down to the final, the lower basement, and we were talking in the pre-show about the ridiculous chip bit. I won't even call it a mechanic. It's like a bit or something. Like it's completely dumb.
So absurd.
And I was like, "What is that on the floor?"
And what else is that? What else is in there? Like cola? Or something?
I think it's a fake cola. Yeah, just.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So as far as hackers and computer geeks eating chips and cola and pizza and being super messy. Apparently that's a thing. We've seen it in all the movies though, so I guess it's true. But just the fact that we were talking about this in pre-show, and I won't dwell on it too much, but just this era of gaming where just these wacky, kind of ridiculous ideas would get into games, and I'm sure, technically. Probably a lot of them still do these days even, but just the uncanny valley of the world, not even just the characters but the world itself, you can get away with this wacky stuff and you kind of don't really think twice about it most of the time. Like, right. That's zany old school game from the early 2000s, but as soon as I stepped on those chips and they crackled, I was like, oh my god. So it's a chip maze.
Well, I knew they were going to do that, so I did make my way all the way around. on the first blush. Like, I never stepped on it. Well, I stepped on some going on the way out. But I knew that would alert the target. So I knew what they were after. It felt totally pointless.
Well, that was
the thing. Is like, it's a difference between this and movies. Like, in a movie, you'd use that to establish character, and then you'd never see it again. Right? You know? Mm-hmm. Like, here, and I was thinking about this when I played Beyond Two Souls last fall, where, you know, David Cage wants to be cinematic, and he wants to do these, like, cinematic games. That's, like, his holy grail. And yet you spend all this time, like, sneaking from point A to point B. I sort of feel like, you know what? You're fine with QuickTime events and all that crap. Just QuickTime me from there to there. And I sort of feel like the same way often in environments, and in particular in games of this era, where they had enough, you know, horsepower to add crap into the world, but not lots of crap. So it's like, I sort of feel like, you know, you're using this to establish sort of something about the character and the world, but you kind of overuse it for the amount of time I'm going to spend in the space.
Yeah.
Right? There's like 4 different lines of potato chips you have to navigate around.
Yeah.
You know, it's ridiculous. Like, you know, and I know Hal Barwood, who we both worked with at LucasArts, would say that games are like Hawaiian shirt, you know, endeavors, right? You know, they have to be bright and flashy and not subtle. But like, I don't know, it might be just that I've moved on from that sort of lack of subtlety, but boy, does that stuff like really get under my fingernails like some, you know, broken up potato chips.
Ooh, nice. Wow. That was good. Unplanned, I bet, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I mean, I guess the thing is like, we wouldn't get away with that these days, right? And I think because of the uncanny valley for the world of that era, it's like I said, you wouldn't think twice about it when you're playing it in the year that it came out. You know what I mean? Because it was like, I'm already in this fairly cool looking and well rendered, you know, basement of servers, which at the time this engine was still pretty good when the game came out. And so it's like, okay, I'm here, and then these chips are here, and I kind of see what they're doing, but I'm just going to keep going because I'm already kind of fully immersed in this world, and it's just, you kind of, you don't know what you don't know at that point, you know.
Right.
So anyway, I agree.
These days it stands out, but those days I definitely agree it did not. You know, like, I would have not even noticed that at the time. Just like you don't even care in System Shock 2 that it's the same potato chips and juice in everything, right? You just kind of like, you just accept it.
Yeah, willing suspension of disbelief, and, you know, and just was higher then. And as we become more photorealistic and the worlds are more better rendered, you know, everything's got to make more sense, you know.
Right, it's harder to accept things as abstractions.
Yeah.
Because they also have to double as realities, you know, and that's a really hard place we've put ourselves in, to be honest. You know, I kind of wonder if VR is going to kind of counteract that, because, you know, just to keep the frame rates up, they're not going to be quite as realistic as your AAA, you know, high-end experience or whatever, you know, on your hottest machines.
Yeah, there could be a bit of a reset for that, or kind of a, you know, taking a couple of steps back. The other trend, though, that I really appreciated, and I guess I'll say I haven't had the luxury of really working on a game like this, but there's been this trend of stylization that's been coming up, you know, for the past 5 or so years of, you know, games are very, and they've always been around, of course, but like really intentionally going after a stylized look and kind of world and rule set, which gives you a lot more, you know, freedom to do wackier things, even though it's you know, basically high def, you know, and well rendered, but it's stylized. So yeah, I like that trend because it, you know, you don't have all of those boundaries that you're put into place with photoreal.
Well, and Hitman Go is a perfect example exactly in this game, right?
Yeah, that's
you know,
a good one.
It's a perfectly abstract version of the rules, although, you know, made to be somewhat time-based, but just kind of move by move rather than, you know, I guess it's not even time-based, it's just move by move.
Yeah, turn-based,
Yeah, purely turn-based. So, But it makes clear a lot of rules, like, again, which is something I've been bumping up against the whole time. You know, I just don't have a sense of how far my footsteps are going to go or whatever. I still don't. I'm better. Like, I don't get caught often running or anything like that, but, you know, it still happens on occasion. More that I forget that I should crouch or sneak around or whatever. But anyway, so you go down and kill that guy. For me, getting out of that meant killing some more guards because I didn't have a weapon at that point. So I had no way to disable the camera. There's a camera that guards the elevator, and you have to disable the alarm system, basically.
How did you kill them?
I choked out another guard in the laundry on the basement floor. It's good that I could have just gone and got my gun. That's a clever thing. I choked out that guy, got his uniform, and then could just walk right in and shoot those two guys point blank and step right in the elevator. So it was, you know, at that point it was pretty easy to do. You know, it took me I actually had to fail at that spot a couple times because I couldn't figure out how to disable the elevator camera. Yeah, which I think is just a computer in that room. You have to shoot. Yeah. You couldn't disable it by hitting it. You know, you couldn't activate it or anything like that. You had to just shoot it. So I was kind of forced to kill those guys. There's probably a way to do that differently, but I couldn't figure one out.
I tried for a little while to try to be a little more efficient and secretive about that, but I ended up just killing him as well. And the I don't know, the verb set or whatever you want to call it for interacting with that computer kind of was frustrating to me because they didn't do a good job at explaining what to do, and then B, the only thing you really seem to be able to do, because, you know, other levels they've allowed you to, like that one where you're rescuing that guy in the basement who was being interrogated. Right. They had a whole server room, right? And you can go and turn the servers off. It's like they could have repeated that, so... that mechanic.
Or done something, you know, in the room with the guy if you had been paying attention, right?
Well, I went back down there and there's that big red button that's there.
Yeah, and that just calls a lot guards, I'm sure.
I don't think you could do anything with it. I think it was just there.
You can't activate it, but I imagine that if you were sneaking up on him that he would hit it.
Right. Yeah, it's probably for him. You're right.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to activate it, but I figured you probably... that was probably there for him.
I wanted to see the guards run down and step on the chips to see what would happen. I stepped on the chips, by the way.
It'd be like caltrops.
Right, they're slipping all over. A lot of them didn't trigger him. I wasn't sure what the rules were for that either, because I stepped on a few of them and just to test it out, and it didn't do anything. So
yeah, maybe they were there just to okay, I'm teaching you that these are going to make noise, so don't step on those ones that are further up.
Yeah, probably so.
Kind of a weird thing. So that was the point at which you learned that he's got this twin, and we go into the next level.
Yep.
Which is just the totally weirdest thing.
Random.
Yeah, it is so random. Apparently he has a twin and he lives on the top floor. Oh, okay. This was also, by the way, in the FCK building. So I don't know if you noticed that.
I did, yeah. So funny.
It's all over the place. So somebody's a big fan of a football club, Copenhagen. But then you go up to a level called Graveyard Shift, which I liked for a lot of reasons. Do you want to sort of set up what's going on up there?
Yeah, so there's sort of the two parts of this particular building, two parts to your mission. One was to take the hacker up, but the second one was to actually put a dongle on the back of a server up in the top floor. So you're doing that, but it's at night, and there's still some workers and stuff there working in cubicles. And all the guards are kind of on breaks, and there's a few walking around, but you're kind of now on the top of the skyscraper, essentially, and sneaking around, trying to find this server. And there's also a system administrator who you need to get a key card from to get into the server room, which I thought was kind of a fun. Again, as I mentioned in previous episodes, one of my favorite thing about this series is those times when you're sneaking around in the middle of a mundane place like this, right? Where it's just an office work, people are over there in their cube literally coding or whatever, and you're a hitman standing right behind them and they don't even know it.
That was probably my favorite moment.
I love that stuff.
After I had gone and done sort of the goals and was making my way out, I had to go through an area with cubicles, and there was a guy in there coding. I was like, that was me. That was me in 2000 whatever when this game came out.
That's right, literally.
Jedi Starfighter. That was me, and it was probably Tim Schafer or something who was the hitman.
Yeah, right. He was sneaking up behind you.
The halls.
Super creepy as he would always walk around the office.
Yep.
So how did you how did you get the key card? What was your tactic there?
Well, there are two key cards. So there's a key card to the air conditioner.
Oh, I didn't get the red one.
Okay, so there's a red key card. So that's how I did it. So what you can do, you can using basically timing, you can get around. Like, I didn't know where I was going, so I was just kind of exploring the level, but I figured I'll make a good go of it. First, I went into the kitchen. Did you catch the visual joke in there?
The webcam? No.
There's a camera. Yeah. There's a camera in the kitchen, it's pointed at the coffee pot.
But what was the? I don't get it. What's the joke?
All the guards want to know who's taking the coffee.
Oh, right. Oh, how funny! So I want
to not refilling that thing. We've got to know who's not doing that.
That's good.
Being the rude bastard.
That's awesome. Who's not?
That was pretty good.
Who's not?
That is such
a
programmer thing, to be like guarding the coffee.
So this
can't do anything with. I'm kind of curious, actually. I might go back and actually see what happens if you shoot the coffee pot.
So I have more to tell you about the kitchen, but you tell me about the red card because I didn't do that.
Right. So you can go in the opposite direction from the air conditioning and server room, and go around the corner, and there's a little room, and the key card's just in there. So I went in and got the red key card. And I assumed this was the way to do it. But what you can go do is go all the way back through to where the air conditioning is and then shoot the air conditioner.
Uh-huh. And he comes in.
And that causes the server to overheat. So the system administrator comes all the way over and unlocks the door for you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's a cool cause and effect, yeah.
Yeah, and then I was able to go in. I had to kind of go back and forth. I don't know if I had a silenced weapon at that point. So I shot that, and then I went and hid in the kitchen, and then I went back out and I choked out the system administrator, and I got his nerdy outfit because he had the taped glasses and everything. I felt very at home. And I put the server in, and then I made my way out across the. You fiber wired yourself. Was it super surreal and was there crazy paradox? I felt more like it was you doing it because he's bald.
Perfect. Okay, man, you won't let that lie.
I know now why you're so attached to this game. You're basically an older clone of 47.
I do have enough hair in the back of my.
You're like 2.
I have enough hair on the back of my head where my barcode isn't showing, but it's there. It's there.
I know.
So for me,
Emil Pagliarulo has one on the back of his neck now.
Who?
Emil Pagliarulo, who's the writer on Fallout 3 and 4.
Yeah. Yep.
He has one on the back of his neck that spells out ASCII and synth and ASCII.
No, he doesn't.
He does. He had it done right when they started Fallout 4.
Oh, my God, that guy. He's so hilarious. Good for him. That's commitment.
Yep.
Good thing that game was good.
Good thing.
So I totally skipped the air conditioner. I don't even know why I didn't even think to go in there. When I finally went into the server room, I saw there was another door there with a red light on it. So I figured there was a key card someplace. So I immediately went into the kitchen and saw the camera there. And I was like, there's a camera. I wonder what happens if I shoot the camera. And so before I shot the camera, I shot all the lights out in the room. And so it was completely dark. And I don't know if I needed to do that. But I figured if somebody was going to come after I shot the camera, I'd want it to be dark. And so I shot the camera. It turned red. And the system administrator left and came into the kitchen to fix the camera.
Oh, that's perfect.
And I took him out there and got his suit there, and then I actually had to walk back to his office and get the key card, which was on his desk, and then I had to go back. So the only bad part about my plan is I had to kind of do some backtracking. But I just left him in the kitchen and then used his key card and got inside the server room and put the dongle in myself there. So yeah,
that's pretty good.
So it's cool.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's different. So I bet you. I wonder if there's other cameras around that you could have lured him away with.
I didn't go exploring. There's a fair amount of space on that level that I didn't even look at.
A lot of guards too.
Yeah, there's a ton of guards, and that's mostly why I was like, I just want to, the only way I could figure out was to shoot the glass to cross the skyway. Is that?
Yeah, I couldn't. I tried hard not to shoot that glass. I
had no idea what else to do, and then I had to shoot the guards too because they were alert. I didn't.
Well, some of the things those are some of the specific moments I dislike about the early games is that there's these times when they specifically want you to play. They want you to experience a thing that the designers want you to experience, and the cool thing about this series for me is the opposite of that, right? So anytime that they force you to do something with we want you to have to go across this rainy skywalk while people are shooting at you, and it's going to be all dramatic and everything. It's like, you know what? That's not why I'm playing. Don't force me to do that. Anyway, I wanted to bring up the chip thing again on that skywalk area because they had those goddamn lights that are strung up to create a maze for you, which is another one of those uncanny valley things where it's we're just going to put these up here so you can't go by them. And I was crouching.
Yes, this string of lights.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Which is all of a centimeter thick at most.
Yeah.
You can't duck under.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Bizarre. It's so weird.
They created a maze out of it. So it's it just breaks you out.
It does. It breaks you out and it channels you into basically having to deal with those guys in that way. I mean, there might be something else you can do. Maybe if I still had anesthetic, I could get a guard uniform and maybe do it. I don't know.
I hate learning the guards, in general. Yeah. I just try to avoid that. So I wonder what the Silent Assassin version of this mission is now that I think about it. But
yeah, I have no idea. I mean, often there's a few levels where I have a pretty quick sense of how that could be achieved. Mm-hmm. Like the basement one, I felt like I understood how that could be achieved. I did very well in the graveyard shift. But again, I think I've omitted some details. I mean, I killed 2 guards on the way out, so that probably knocks me down right there. But I felt like I kind of knew what I could have done in the basement one. Maybe if I had a silenced weapon. I don't know. I just kind of I got an idea of what I could have done. I did at one point have a guard's uniform in that first level that we played this week, and then you're allowed to walk through the sensors, with the weapon. So
really?
Could actually, you can. So I imagine I could have dropped my weapon.
Oh, actually, you know what? I did that too. But then they wouldn't let me go downstairs.
They won't let you go downstairs. So you still have to be the pizza guy. So they definitely feel like they funnel you that way.
Yeah.
It's you have to do this.
Or the firefighter probably.
Or probably the firefighter. Yeah, I didn't try that one, but it's you can get down there. And I felt like there were things I could do. I could have dropped this weapon, and there's some offices there and some cubicles or whatever. I could have put a weapon down. I just didn't. I figured I'd just I'll see what happens, So I felt like I could have had a silenced weapon down there, and that's cool. All right, cool, good. Maybe I could have taken out the computer that way and gotten a silent assassin. But with these other two levels in this sort of little trio, no idea. No idea.
So speaking of set up the next level once you get
so you cross the skyway, and now you're going to go after this twin that you were surprised to learn that existed. And I was surprised that we didn't know there was a twin brother. You would have thought he would have been in the video, but enough about that. I need to put that behind me. So there's this guy, and he's in the penthouse apartment in the other building that you've just crossed to. And he's surrounded by 3 women in bikinis in a hot tub, a jacuzzi, as it were. There's another woman playing the piano, and then there's just a couple of guards and a secretary. And on the one hand, I loved some of the clockwork in this level. Like, parts of it I thought were great.
Well,
and
it's
then,
so
like,
tight
in the first half,
small.
the first half was really tight and small, and I could figure out what I wanted to do, and I did it. I mean, it took me a while to kind of figure out what I wanted to do, but once I, like, I can do this, like, and then I can do that and that and that, good. That's, like, the first half. Your objectives are to kill this target in the Jacuzzi, but also to make it look like a robbery. So you have to steal some cash, which you're not told where it is, and then some kind of artifact, like a statue or something like that. And those things are guarded in different ways. So the little statuette is on a little platform or pedestal with like a laser sensor around it. So you can't just take it. If you just take it, then they're going to know you're there, and everybody flips out, and a bunch of people come after you with guns, and you can't be a silent assassin. I felt like I understood the first half of this mission and never understood the second half.
Yeah, it's confusing.
So what did you do?
So I actually want to ask you really quick. You were mentioning not knowing where the money is. When you go to the map, do you look for the exclamation points that are flashing on there?
I do. There were 3.
One of them, I think, is on the money.
One of them is on the money.
Yeah.
But I didn't know.
No pun intended.
Yes, one's on the money. Yeah, one is on the money, and of course that led me to it.
Okay. I just was curious.
I knew to go and look there, and actually, like, the way I played this is, I've started to do it your way, which is like go in and do a bunch of stuff just to figure out what's where.
Exploration through murder. Yeah.
Exactly. One of the exclamation points is night vision goggles.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
One is the statue, and one is the money, which is hidden behind a painting and in a safe. Mm-hmm. Which was super frustrating, that multi-stage thing, because of a input fidelity problem. There's no way to not do a thing once you've hit the E button.
To cancel out of it?
Yeah. Well, maybe there is, and I just haven't figured it. Maybe you can hit escape and it'll just not do it. But
that's a good point. I don't know.
I would be in there and be like, anyway, so the way to do this first half is that you need to disable the electricity. That makes the secretary go and tell somebody she's in the room with the money. You need to get her out of there. So you wait for her to go to the bathroom.
I didn't do this.
Yeah, you wait for her to go to the bathroom or into the room with the piano player. And I have to say, like, I walked all the way around the outside of this environment. You're basically on this top floor, and there's a ledge, and there were like 3 balconies. And you can make your way all the way around the environment from end to end on these ledges. So I went all the way over to her side. What I really liked was, like, as the doors would open, you'd, like, hear the woman playing the piano. Like, you'd hear the rain, and then the door would open, you'd hear the piano with the rain. It was like, It had that same melancholy feeling that you were talking about, in prior episodes. And then, so I made my way all the way over there, and I waited for that woman, the secretary, who was working in the room with the money, to go. And then I went through that room that she was in, the office, and into a room that had fuses. And you can destroy the fuses, and it turns out all the lights. So once that's done, it's fairly easy to go and get the money and get the statue. But what happened to me was I would go and I'd open the painting, and that went pretty quick. And then I'd open the safe, and I'd be like, come on. And I'd hit the E button again too soon.
Oh, no.
And it would record it as close the safe when I wanted it to be take the money. So I'd be sitting there like opening the safe, closing the safe, opening the safe, closing the safe.
Yeah.
It was very, like, again, same, like, slipping on a banana peel feeling of going through this level. So Charlie Chaplin, his birthday was this week. I guess that's, appropriate then.
Nice. Little Keystone Cops in there.
Yep. Oh, yeah. But, so what did you do if you didn't do...
So I saved... Because I had tried to figure out the hit in the guy in the jacuzzi. Kind of first, I wanted to figure out the mechanics and the pacing of that and what was going on with the women on that side. So I kind of actually took him out first just to see what it involved. So I saved the turning the lights out till the end, Sounds like you did that first. Well, actually,
Right.
I saved it till the end when I got my whole pattern down, but it did end up being... No, actually, I think it was... No, I think we did it in opposite orders now that I think about it. So with the lights on in the safe room, I actually waited for her to go and open the safe because I guess I assumed I wasn't going to be able to get into the safe unless she had opened it. So I walked it. I had, I had a guard's uniform on. I'd walked in as she was opening the safe and looking at the money. I'd actually knocked her out with anesthetic and then took the money myself, closed it all up, and then when she wakes up, she eventually finds that the money's gone, I think. I watched this on I watched it
on the map. That was exactly what I was referring to earlier.
Yeah.
It's really fun to be sitting there on the map and go, what's going on with these characters right now?
It's like a silent
and
movie.
you're like in your brain, you're in your brain going, okay, I was in that room.
Yeah.
Okay, so that time she was at the desk. And now, she's at the wall.
Yeah.
Oh, she just opened the safe.
Yeah.
That's what she's freaking out about. I did really love that moment.
Yeah.
And I wanted to call that out.
And it's all persistent. I mean, it's all actually happening, versus the
Right.
map is simulating something happening. So
Right, exactly.
So it's pretty neat. And few games really need to do that or choose to do that. So I got the money first, and then went inside the... Okay, so no, let's see. I got the money first, and then...
So why did you have a guard's uniform?
Because I wanted to...
Like how did you get one?
So one of the guards actually goes out on one of the...
Goes out onto the balcony. So you choked out one of those guys.
Yeah, and in fact, I figured out the early patterns. Usually, in almost every level, there will be patterns that if you execute them which you've probably noticed, but if you execute them right away,
I noticed that
you can be at the
Bazaar,
right place at the right time. So
I'll get to.
If you run right over to the first balcony, it'll always be timed where that one of the guys will go out on the balcony right away. And so I got the guard's uniform immediately from that timing. Again, got the night vision, took the money, and then I think what I did was, I'm kind of misremembering the order. I went and waited for the women to go out of the jacuzzi, took the hit on him, and then went and turned the lights out. Because I found when I had experimented earlier, if I took the lights out too early, everyone freaks out so much and everything that it kind of caused too much turmoil, like too much confusion for me. So took him out. When I turned the lights out, it distracted the women in the jacuzzi, right? So they didn't find him right away, and waited for the guy, I guess it was another system administrator or something, to come up and fix the...
Right, they have a technician, yeah.
Yeah, technician, which is...
He's the only character in the game I've found who you can't take their costume.
Yeah, it's one of the few ones. Yeah, there's a couple other I think I found, but which I would think...
Well, and I assume the women, too. I haven't actually tried.
Yeah, right.
Probably you can't put a bikini on.
You can't put a bikini on. But it's frustrating because I think that's the...
No wish fulfillment for me, then.
Yep, I knew it. I kind of frustrating because they definitely, you can't go into the elevator without him coming up. Did you try this? Did you try calling the elevator once you had done everything, but it just never came? Because that's what I actually did. I had done everything. He had fixed, maybe he'd fixed the lights. And
I found that the elevator takes a very long time. I ended up killing everybody but the secretary on this level.
I don't think it ever comes unless you have him come up. I don't think you can do it by yourself. I waited a long time too, but
that's possibly true. But I mean, I don't know that I ever tried without him having come up first. But I tried, I anesthetized that guy, and I thought, I'll get his technician outfit, at least get me into that room, and nobody will freak out. Mm-hmm. So maybe I can get a shot off and run back to the elevator. So what I actually tried to do was go to the elevator, call it, and then go into the room, thinking, okay, well, the elevator will come in that time, and I'll be able to go back, and it'll be there. I don't know. I felt like the elevator I know it's coming a long way. We're like on the 42nd floor, probably.
I don't think. I don't think it comes.
I don't know. It took a long time, even when I like headshot everybody. I was like standing there waiting. I'm like, oh, at least I don't have to kill the piano player. And then finally, she came through the door, and I had to kill her. And then the elevator came. I was like, you're kidding me. This is killing me. So it was rough.
He fixes the lights, and because I didn't want the reinforcements to come. Because more security comes, right?
If you don't let him fix the lights, this more security is supposed to arrive.
So as soon as he fixed the lights, I actually took him out. No, actually, I take that back. That was another time because what I ended up doing is I went into the way I finished. I went into the elevator with the lights out as he was coming out of the elevator. And
interesting.
That's how I finished the level. Now that I think about it. So I once I had my routine down, I actually had to do the money, the statue, and the hit very quickly all together. And one little quick tidbit I wanted to mention because I had a note on it, which you may or may not, you may not have seen. If you miss the guy in the jacuzzi, the twin, did you see what he does?
No. If
you shoot next to him, because one of my tries, I actually hit like the partition that's blocking some line of sight, and he heard it. He actually holds his breath and goes underwater for a few seconds, and then he comes back up. And when he went underwater, I walked up to the jacuzzi and I just watched him to see what he was going to do. And he comes back up, and they have an animation of him actually holding his breath and letting out the breath out. And then, of course, he freaked out once he saw me, and I shot him. But I thought that was a nice little tidbit
those
there.
Those three women who were in there, who were his guards, but also, I don't know, eye candy or something. Mm-hmm. Where were they?
They're in the bathroom that's behind. So
interesting. So I had seen that happen once in the whole time I had played, and I didn't figure out how it triggered.
Yeah.
And I found that they would often see me when I was on the balcony, so I couldn't hang around. So I'd try to move. There aren't a lot of places to hide in this level.
So did you kill him from outside?
No, I killed him from inside because you can't shoot through the window.
Okay, yeah. So
I tried a number of different things, though. I did try to shoot the windows because every other window breaks, but not the window guarding him.
I think these windows had they
had texture that was different. Yeah. That they're reinforced glass or something, with the wires through them. So I was like, okay, I mean that probably wouldn't stop a bullet, but okay, whatever. So what I tried was I would try shooting glass out from a distance. Mm-hmm. In one of the other rooms, hoping that they would go to where the glass broke, but they'd always go to where I was, because that's where the gunshot came from, I guess.
So one thing I noticed, which is again kind of talking about the muddy rule set and lack of usability. One thing I noticed is because the cycle that the women are on for leaving the jacuzzi is pretty long, so you definitely have to wait. If you're even so, once they go to the bathroom and they're in there for enough time for you to go in and take them out, if they hear you walking, they will leave the bathroom immediately. So you have to sneak in there, and so there were many times when I wasn't sure what was triggering them leaving the bathroom, and it turned out it was me. So even though I was right outside and kind of just waiting and silent, if I even walked a little bit, they would leave, even though they didn't see me. So it kind of felt like a pretty cheap design trigger that I didn't really agree with because it didn't match other things. I mean, I guess hearing some footsteps might cause people to leave, but anyway. So I killed him in enough time.
Women are much tougher combatants than we poor men.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And these certainly were.
He's got some good bodyguards, yeah.
He does.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's how I eventually got out in the chaos of the darkness as the technician came up.
All right.
You just killed
everybody. Let's hop into I ended up killing everybody except for the secretary. Let's hop into an elevator of our own and then come back after a quick break.
Sounds good.
All right.
Only one way in here for me, it seems. If I make an inconspicuous approach, I should blend in just nicely and get the job done.
Welcome back from the break. We're going to do the other three levels that we played tonight, or played for tonight's discussion. The first of which is The Murder in the Bazaar. The title of which basically inspired me to get the Silent Assassin rating for the second time in this series, although the other one I had to go back and get because I was trying to figure out at that time the rules. But now I kind of felt like I understood them. And this one kind of went a little bit more quickly. We've changed locations. We've gone from this high-rise in, I guess, Malaysia to an unspecified desert environment. I don't think it actually says where you are.
That's a good question. I don't recall.
I don't think it does. It just sort of, and probably moderately offensive, is sort of generic bad guy Arabs. It's kind of just like, it's highly unspecific, which is weird because before this it's been Kirov Park, St. Petersburg Square, Malaysia, and Japan. And I know they're specific in Japan too. I just don't honestly remember where in Japan. So it's like and Sicily, right? So it's like a lot of highly specific locations, and then desert nation.
Well, so we were talking about
turbans.
We were talking about this earlier. I knew there was a controversy around this particular level, and I had forgotten about what it was. But the version we played actually was a rebuild of this level.
Of the Bazaar?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you're right. It's the next one. It's the next one.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, it seems a little bit insensitive.
Yes.
It's not. It's funny because it's not so populated, and you're not hearing people talk a lot that it feels that way until you actually get to the Bazaar. I don't know. I feel kind of weird about it, but it was a level that I did perform very well in. Again, just because I'm now comfortable with, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is open up the map, figure out where people are and where they're going and where the targets are. And it took me, a few efforts to actually do this, but what I ended up doing was just making a beeline to kill the first target. This lieutenant who was on the second floor of this building. It was a little tricky because there are some rules that are still not entirely internalized for me. So in order to get into the building in which this guy is sort of resting or just hanging out, you have to pick a lock, which is fine. But I don't I have a hard time with the stealth rules and how they interact with some of the use rules. So it's I guess if you're in stealth when you pick a lock or open door, then the door or lock picks or opens stealthily. You know what I mean? It's more quiet. Because I definitely, one of the times I ran up to this door, I picked the lock. I didn't know whether I was going to be in stealth mode, so I just hit the spacebar again, which unfortunately took me out of stealth mode. And I opened the door. And then I couldn't get to my target because he was looking where the door had made noise.
Oh, interesting.
But if you're in stealth mode, he doesn't look at where the door is. So it's you're very carefully opening the door. It's you've, I don't know, we're both parents, right? And so in the middle of the night sometime, we've gone into our children's room, and closed the door very quietly behind us or opened it very quietly as we went in. And that is a different thing. So I totally get why that is. It's just I don't actually crouch when I do that. So I don't know. There's something weird about that. It's kind of a strange thing. I get it. That's how it signifies to the player that, okay, this is when you're being quiet to do anything. And this is when you're not. So, okay.
Yeah, I think I might have picked the lock and just kind of quickly gone in and shot him. So maybe he did see me, but I shot him quickly enough or something.
Okay.
I don't remember stealthing into the room, though, or into the building.
If you stealth into the room, you can choke him out. And I think you have to choke... I think we talked about this last time, that you have to choke out your targets in order to get the Silent Assassin rating.
Yes, you cannot shoot people with guns to get... Yeah, if you want Silent Assassin.
Right. So what I did was, I did that. I quietly got into that room. The first time I did this several times, actually. I one time I actually I killed some guards, and I hid their bodies, and one of them was anesthetized. I got their uniforms. I did all that kind of stuff that I've been kind of accustomed to doing at this point. But I realized, just from the beginning of the level, that if I was quick enough, I could actually get into that room before they appeared. And to your point earlier about, how you will sometimes impact what they do, the fact that you've opened this room, if the guards are anywhere nearby, they stop and have cigarettes behind this building, if that door is open because you've unlocked it, they'll go inside.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
So what happened to me was I went in, I'm on the second floor, killing their boss, and the door opens and they walk in and they're standing beneath me. Now, unfortunately...
Yeah, the same thing happened to me, I think.
Right, okay. So unfortunately I had... I paused the game, overnight. I just left it paused. I don't know why, but I was playing yesterday, and then I came back to finish it off this morning. And when I went back downstairs, the door wouldn't open.
Oh, shoot.
And I'm
Serious? I saw
what do I do?
I saw you were online. I was like, man, you were playing a lot of this game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was online overnight. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. That makes sense. Oh, man, so bug.
Frustrated. Yeah, total bug. And I think it's just a weird state thing. Just, I don't know, who even knows? I actually had to quit the game entirely and restart it to get it to reset properly. It was totally broken.
Memory leak kind of thing, maybe, or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the game was performing fine. It was totally strange. It is an era where, memory leaks could lead to all kinds of weird stuff. I once accidentally left... I guess it was Oblivion running, and I went on vacation, and I had meant to turn off the game. I just slipped my mind and all the things I had to do, and I came back, and the frame rate was not even once a minute. It was so bad. It was ridiculous. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't believe they shipped a game that does this. It was bad. But anyway, this was just I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. These guys just came in. I can't pick the lock to go out. There's something wrong here. And I tried it for a while, and I reloaded the level. But anyway, it was just a bug. So I did it again, and then I went. And when I first tried it, I went basically, I assumed that the souk, they said he's in the souk. I didn't look that up. Do you know what a souk is?
No,
Well, apparently
you mean the lieutenant?
The
colonel.
Second target. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, he's a colonel, yeah.
As a second target, he's in the souk. Well, the souk is just another word for bazaar. I thought they meant he was in the compound. Why not just say bazaar? The level's called Murder at the Bazaar. I was so frustrated. But anyway, I went in there, and I several times I went in and killed the guys. I'm like, where is this guy? And then I finally looked at the map again, and he's like, oh, he's way over there. So I ended up learning that. I went and redid all that. And I went to the bazaar, and I just watched his patterns, figured out where he was going to be, and just waited, hidden in one of the rooms, until he went in there and turned around, and I killed him.
Yeah.
So I hit only those 2 targets, and I walked right out. You have to be stealthy a lot of different spots. You have to be stealthy. Well, you have to be stealthy when you kill him, and then on your way out. But then you have to come out of stealth in time, so that the guard who's his personal bodyguard
doesn't
turn around. Mm-hmm. He has to follow you with his eyes, but not look behind him, because that's where the body is. So, you could, I guess, I probably could have dragged the body behind some crates and maybe,
that's
bought some more time. So that's what you did?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much the same. There was something you needed to get off of the kernel, though, right? There's
a map or something. One of them has a map and one of them has a key.
Because for whatever reason, I went into... I thought I was going to need it later, but there was a key on a table inside the colonel's quarters. Did you pick that key up?
I did not. I didn't even find it.
It was tiny. I just accidentally found it, and I don't remember what it was. I never used it. I don't know what it was for.
You can actually go... You can go into the little compound... and you can find a sniper rifle in there. I was like, oh, this is how I'm going to get the second guy or whatever. I was totally confused.
Yeah. Otherwise, pretty much the same thing in this one.
Pretty similar, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The next one is the one that has had the problematic content, I gather.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So yeah, it was a controversy that it seems like I'm probably misremembering, but it feels like every one of their games at least has one level that they might have stepped over a line on. And so for this one, this is the one. What's the title of this one?
Motorcade Interception.
Yeah. So the original version, which I guess is on GOG.com, the DRM free version, has the uncensored content inside of it, but the one we played has the censored version where they rebuilt the level. The original version, I guess, depicted a holy site where this all happens that was, too similar to some historical events that had happened in the past, and definitely not a place where you want to murder, key religious figures or such. So. So they rebuilt the level and took that whole section out for the remake because of the controversy, which there's definitely controversy in games from time to time, but not often where they will actually change the whole level because of it. So pretty big deal.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm aware of sort of more recent controversy with the series, and we talked offline about absolution and kind of the nuns.
Yeah, the nun assassin thing. Yeah.
You know, who even knows? Like, I didn't tap into any of that sort of specific objections, but I do remember thinking, well, that's a weird sexualizing trope that's strange, right? You know, it's bizarre. I don't know. I know that it was kind of a big deal. What do they call those? Grindhouse style movie that was made, probably around the time Absolution was being developed, which involved, nuns with guns. I don't know, maybe if they were just keying off of that. Who knows? Like,
it could have been.
Developers get influences from all kinds of weird places, so, who knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, there's also, like, the sacred and the profane when it comes to things like that. But yeah, this... I did kind of feel generally uncomfortable in these three levels because they are, I don't know, I guess there's like a level of abstraction here with the characters that I'm familiar with from like GTA 3. Like they're the same sort of level of polygonal count and vocalization and like, how many character models there are and things like that. The same sorts of levels of limits. I'm sort of generally comfortable with that in a level like the first one, Anathema, the first real one. Because it's just like, oh, these are just a type. And then when it's like an other, somebody who's not kind of closer to me, like who I am in the real world, it's that othering that is abstracted feels really strange.
Yeah.
So this area...
Oversimplified too, right?
Yeah.
And this, these levels, I don't think these would be made these days now because it'd be too, the lines to be crossed would be too obvious.
Yeah, they are. I think that I think that we were all kind of clueless. We were lucky, you and I, that we were working in Star Wars, and we, who knows? Who cares, right? It's Star Wars.
Fantasy.
It's totally fantasy, and we don't even know, for the three games we worked on, most of the characters you don't even see their faces, right? So it's like, it's kind of a total different level of abstraction. It's like 2 levels removed, and this is like, it's a weird level of abstraction that every character basically looking the same made me definitely uncomfortable, and actually beyond that. This second level in this sort of little 3-level series was kind of boring. For me, anyway, I didn't find any interesting way to do it. There was probably a way to silent assassin it. I didn't find it. I didn't look for it. It involves going in and finding a very high-powered rifle the name of which I don't remember, but it's basically a big kind of carbine thing, one of these super-powered long sniper rifles that can, perforate anything. And you're basically there to go and execute this one person in the middle of a motorcade. He's in a limo. So it's sort of Kill Bill. You've seen Kill Bill.
Yeah, of course. But what do you? You
remember O-Ren Ishii? She has her backstory. It's told in like an anime style.
Oh man, I guess I got to rewatch that movie. I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's an anime section in Kill Bill, Volume 2, or Volume 1 rather, which probably came out a little after this. So who knows? But it's a very similar sort of scenario where she, she's grown to be this, top hitman basically in the world, top criminal killer. And she, in this anime section, shoots like this dude in the backseat of a limo in the middle of a motorcade, and he's got like women on both sides of him. It's a crazy scene because like you follow the bullet through the air, through the glass, through his head.
Whoa.
and then his head falls forward, and now you're looking from basically the blown out back of his skull at these two women who now react, But it reminded me of that scene, like that's what it was trying to do. I'd have to look actually, because I feel like Kill Bill Volume 1, maybe Kill Bill Volume 1 was before this game. No, it wasn't. It was 2003. I just looked it up. Yeah. Totally, that's what it reminded me of. It was
interesting.
Pick this one target out of these 4 vehicles. For me, I ended up killing the driver because I made it easier to hit the target. Because while he was moving and I'm breathing and I've got like that whole Metal Gear Solid sniper thing going on, I had a really hard time just pulling off the shot I wanted. I feel like there was a different place I could have gone in the level to get a better shot, but
where did you set up?
So
on that tower that's pretty much on the way there, the tallest tower.
There is a very decorative building, which I think would probably be the best way to do it, but I only found that on my way out. There is a building that's right on the road that he's coming in.
Yeah, that was the one I was into.
Okay, yeah, there's a little like a back splash kind of area that I kind of backed up again and crouched against. I actually dropped the weapon until he was in range, just so that guards wouldn't pick me up. And I actually found that was effective because multiple times, I got up to that point and I saved, and they would pick me up and start shooting at me before I'd even got my shot off. But I found once I dropped the weapon, they actually just wouldn't notice me up there. And then right when I knew he was he's coming around that corner, I pick up the weapon and start zooming in.
I see, yeah.
But I still ended up, I think, having to kill people on the way out.
I did too, yeah. I couldn't figure out a way to... Yeah, I don't know what the silent assassin is on this one, because once you fire that sniper rifle, you're pretty much alerted.
Yeah.
So I kind of run my way out.
I switched because of having gotten a silent assassin on an earlier level. I had silenced ballers, so I was going through, fighting my way out with those.
Oh, nice!
And I didn't have to kill a lot of people. I like that you get rewards for doing the good. The silent assassin. I mean, that's obviously what they want you to do. To our earlier discussion, they're reinforcing and rewarding you for achieving that. I guess if you didn't get one, you wouldn't know you were missing out on those rewards. But I did like getting that, and it made me feel cooler. Oh, cool! I got that thing now. I can use that as a tool. And having those was kind of useful because I could get enough distance between me and where I'd shot from to be able to clear out. So,
one thing I noticed in this mission, which I hadn't noticed before, or maybe it was the previous one. I forget which one it was, but at one point I had... No, actually, you start with a pedestrian outfit on, disguise.
I stayed in that the whole time.
Yeah, okay, so I didn't, but... maybe on the last try I did, but you can run when you're in a pedestrian able to run around, and nobody would stop me or clue me in when I was in the pedestrian. Did that happen for you, or did you even try that?
I did run around a bit, but I would tend to... It was more just to kind of distance myself from where I had shot from. And then once I kind of moved back to walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I definitely saw other characters who looked like me.
Yeah.
Running around that way. So that's interesting. It's more like a panic thing.
I don't know.
This was the level where the... just to follow up on something we talked about earlier, I guess they're UN escorts or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
In the motorcade, you're not allowed to kill them. Right. I didn't bother. I assumed it would be an immediate mission fail. I didn't bother. But if you look on the map, those are like a different color to signify, and they all like run up looking for you just as much or more, than the supposed guards. I was in more danger from them than anybody else, which is itself a commentary.
They had truck mounted turrets too, I believe, right? Like high.
I shot them so far out that wasn't an issue. Like they ran it, they didn't drive in at that point.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Once you shoot,
they stopped.
Once everybody. I shot, they got out of the vehicles.
Yeah.
And like ran to where I was, and at that point I was already myself running to get out.
Yeah.
I actually thought this was a weird thing because I remembered from the beginning of the game the sort of mild tutorial level in the monastery. It sort of taught you what distance you could jump from, and I felt like I was jumping from that distance, from higher than that distance to get out of this level. Like I jumped off the sniper perch to the level down, and then from that level down to the next level in order to get out of there quickly. Yeah. I dropped the weapon too. And it felt like, oh, I guess I can do that? Like,
Inconsistent.
Yeah, it felt inconsistent, but of course none of that stuff's measured. There's no consistent visual feedback of any kind. I mean, no HUD, obviously, to say you're this many feet off the ground.
No.
But also just no... Because it's literally different sorts of level geometry, I don't know how far, I don't think the fidelity's there to be able to read it as, oh, this is too high or not too high.
No, it goes back to the trial and error problem, right, where you're not really sure. And so, because I know I've jumped off of a couple ledges that seemed appropriate and I died during our playthroughs, yeah.
Huh.
But I just wasn't sure, right? I mean, we kind of right on the border of whether I thought I was going to make it.
It's a curiously binary thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got a health bar. It's not a 1-shot 1-kill game, or 5 shots 1 kill or whatever. It's weird to me that the jump.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is binary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's clearly like a 3 meters you're dead, 2.5 meters you're not.
Yeah.
It's a strange thing. I switched to metric there for our European audience.
Good, because they were about to get offended.
Yeah, I know.
Switched over.
Well, it's a European game.
So, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So then, we sounds like we both did this one pretty much the same in basic way, and it wasn't that interesting as far as the gameplay goes. So for the next one though, you said you were having some trouble in our intermission.
Yeah. Yeah, normally I can I have a sense of what I could do. Like, again, like the Jacuzzi level, I was frustrated because I did this thing that seemed appropriate, and then I had no idea how to finish the level without killing a bunch of people. And I think that's kind of when the game is at its worst, is when, adjusting for, now that I've kind of learned how the systems work, I feel most frustrated when I can't come up with a plan, Mm-hmm. I have no idea. So when it came to this final mission, I did a lot of sneaking around. So just to set the stage, you've come to a ruin, and underneath the ruin there is an underground base, and you're going to steal a thing from it and kill a guy. So you're going to do a hit, and you're going to steal this thing and move it upstairs in an elevator, so it can be taken away. That's the mission briefing, and it's called Tunnel Rat because when you go in there's kind of like this moat. If you go to the bottom level, there's kind of like a moat around in sort of the center of the level, like the inner lining of a donut. as far as the level is concerned. And you can basically sneak around the whole level with that. But I didn't find that helped me any.
I didn't use it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, and the way I finally finished it, I didn't either. But I was a mass murderer, so I didn't feel like it was terribly successful.
It was go time.
Were you more successful?
I was more successful than that, but I wasn't happy. I think I might have gotten. I don't know if I got professional. I think I might have gotten the one
like expert
or something. Yeah, I killed more guards because they kept. I'm not really sure what the rules were, but they kept hitting the alarm down there. So I didn't necessarily.
Yeah, so there are alarms on, for the audience who's not playing along. There are alarms in the north, south, east, and west cardinal directions, like in the center of the wall. So it's basically a square or moderately rectangular lower level, a little bit oblong, and there's basically guards in several locations in a big central room, and then sort of a side room where your target is, and then in the northwest corner, that's sort of on the eastern wall. In the northwest corner, there's the other target, which is this cargo you have to steal.
Did you deal with... how did you find the hit themselves, the guy? Did you deal with
I did go through the tunnels to do that.
Yeah, and then did you deal with the guy that was being tortured? Yeah.
So what I did was, that's a weird sort of thing. I'm not really comfortable with how that whole thing works. So there's a character in the northeast corner where there's a little scene that's going on, and it just kind of keeps playing out. I assume if you don't get there in time, the guy just dies in place. But there's a guy who's being beaten basically to death, and a guard who's just sitting there wailing on him. And I guess you can tell this on the map because there's a green circle, which is the torture E, and a guard circle, which is an orange circle, like right on top of it, basically. I made my way to that pretty quickly. One of the times, at the sort of beginning when I was trying to fill out the level, I made my way through this moat tunnel thing all the way around to that, and I saw that going on. I was kind of appalled, and I just shot the guard in the head, kind of instinctually. And the torture victim gets up and basically tells you where to find your target at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I had happen. And then at a certain point, that sort of chain of saves became untenable, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. So instead, I went a different route, and I choked out a guard in the upper level, the sort of ruins area, and now I had a guard uniform and kind of moved through a little more fluidly. But I wonder if there was a difference between the upstairs guards and the lower level guards that made it easier to move around or something.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, maybe that was my problem.
They had different weaponry.
Yeah, I mean, some of the guys downstairs had like M60s and heavy machine guns and stuff, and maybe that was my problem too, because I had an upstairs guard uniform as well, and they kept hitting the alarm. So I kind of had to, whenever one of the guards went for the alarm, I would take him out with my silenced weapon. But I actually had followed the prisoner after saving him, and he gave away the location of the hit. I actually followed him up the stairs, and I might go back just to fool with it to see what happens, to see if I actually, because he gets taken out by the guards up there, right? Because he runs up. But I think you could probably save him, and sometimes they deal with stuff like that, and they actually allow, there will be an event that would happen, but it may not do anything.
I kept getting a message on my HUD saying that he didn't make it. Yeah. Basically, is what it said. Almost exactly what it said.
I definitely could have defended him though, and it's interesting.
I didn't try to, and my sense, like when I read it, I was like, oh, he died from his wounds. But then I realized, oh no, because I would look at the map, I was like, oh no, he made it. He went up the stairs. Yeah. Oh, somebody got him upstairs. Up above. Not upstairs, but up above.
Once because once you know where the hit is, that seemed pretty relatively easy. There was an exclamation point in the middle of the donut, as you said, that I fooled around with. It's some generator of some kind, and there was also night vision goggles on the map. So I assumed you could have taken the lights out, but I never figured out how to do that. The generator, I tried shooting it. I just must have not done something correctly there, because there was always a guy that was going to find me anyway. But then once I was on my way out to get the cargo, like, things usually too many people saw me, so I had to take out more people than I wanted to at that point.
Yeah, I ended up a mass murderer. I killed so many dudes in this area.
Yeah.
And I tried different things. I try getting really close to that target, but getting through the door that protected him, there was a guard there, and I just couldn't do anything about him. And there were basically two guards who would alternate. I just could not find a way past that, and at the point that I was like, well, dinner's already in the oven, and gotta go pick up Jordan from the baseball field. Well, I better finish off this level, because I'm not going to have a chance.
That's the weirdest few sentences. Dinner's in the oven. I better go kill all these people. I don't know. We're talking about.
Hey, man, I've got these ribs I want to eat.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's just it's not funny. It's a weird. This game is a weird conversation, right? Because of what it's fundamentally about. So I don't know. We don't need to get into too much commentary on that, but
yeah, this level in particular. Like, I like the levels. I like having a feeling like, oh, I know what I could do.
Yeah.
And I just wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know where to put the crowbar in on this one. Like, I don't know how to crack this level. Like, and like the end of the Jacuzzi, although now hearing what you did, I'm like, oh, okay, I could have done it in a different order. That makes a certain amount of sense. Okay, that, maybe I could have tried that. But yeah, this was just weird. It was just like, I don't even know.
Yeah, and I think maybe the key to this one, similarly to the Jacuzzi, was the night vision and using that in some interesting way. But I kind of was running out of time as well. So
what isn't? I don't think I've had the night vision ever.
So, I made a note of that, actually.
Is it a different render mode? Or?
Yeah, it's a filter.
That was kind of all the rage in 2002, 3, 4, or whatever.
Yeah, it's a filter that they just throw, green filter that they throw on. I don't even think they do any rendering tricks. It's mainly just a green filter on top of things.
Well, that's in 2002. That was a rendering trick, my friend.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But it's actually a single lens, so it's pretty claustrophobic when you put it on, and it's got a big, one circular lens. It's not like a binocular kind of look. And so the note
so it's like an overlay and this kind of green filter.
Yeah, and you see the actual, it's like regular regular night vision goggles, right? That has the one big lens in the front.
I don't wear those on.
Okay, well, let's move on. But anyway, point being is that, well, and those are of that era, right? They're better now. But the point being, the note I wrote down.
Silence of the Lambs. That's pretty much my night vision goggles.
So that's literally the note I wrote down. Was like it's their Silence of the Lambs, excuse basically, because in the Jacuzzi level, when you put them on and you turn the lights out, there's, everyone's running around in the dark and they're looking around. They can't see you, and you're literally standing right in front of them often. And, and especially the women are sitting there looking around, kind of looking past you, just like she does in the movie, and you're standing right there. So it's this weird, creepy kind of, especially in the Jacuzzi level, where it's cool that you have it on, but it's also very, stalkery. And
that's pretty weird.
Yeah, I don't know how it would have worked in this level. There's definitely a lot of lights around in the periphery there. But one thing, once you get the cargo up there, I don't know if it's like we can end on the little story moment there, which I'm forgetting what it all means. But did you notice?
Yeah, weirdest thing.
Yeah.
It's like these characters from The Last Airbender drop in.
Totally.
What the hell?
Well,
yeah, I definitely registered that and was like, it was a total WTF moment where I just
right, super weird.
Yeah, I guess it's probably maybe a Hindu separatist movement. Like maybe we're in Pakistan.
Yeah.
That's like the only thing I could really read on it was like that these are maybe some kind of military Buddhist monk.
I think stuff's coming up that might fill some of that in. But did you notice there was sort of an Arab guy, or that came out of the helicopter, and then there was a white guy.
Yes.
And did you notice
a white guy? He looked an awful lot like Agent 47.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to confirm.
I did notice that, but I wasn't sure if that was a fidelity thing. But it was like,
I think it's literally his face model, his head model.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like when he came out, I was like, oh, it's one of me. And then I looked at him more closely. I'm like, except I'm in saffron robes and have like the last Airbender arrow on my forehead.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually that. It was like a dot.
Yeah.
But it was like it was the same color choice. It was like a light blue or something. It was really weird.
It's kind of such a non sequitur in a way, and it it felt like they maybe wanted it to be more important than it actually ended up being, because there wasn't really a setup to this stuff. I mean, they talk about the very first cinematic in the beginning of the game. They talk about some of the clone stuff, and
there's some stuff that's kind of going on in cutscenes where there's like a bunker somewhere where there's like an illuminated table in the dark. People are moving pieces around on it and, throwing them off the board in dramatic fashion. But I haven't really, I haven't figured out what any of that means. I don't know how it's going to tie in.
Without giving anything away, one thing I will give you that's not a spoiler but a little bit of a hint. The last cinematic where they have that guy that's looking at or maybe it was one. I don't know. It was the last one or the one before that, where they have that guy at like you said, at the table with the projections on it and stuff, and he's looking at it. That guy, I believe, was in the St. Petersburg mission with the other Russian generals. He was the guy with the brown leather jacket on and kind of had the. He looked like Lynch from Kane and Lynch. Like he's got a mullet but bald in the front, on top.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so. I think it might be that guy. He looked like, you don't get a good look at him when he's in the dark. But anyway, might come in to something later on.
All right. Well, hey, do me a favor. Put the lotion in the basket, and we'll have a quick break.
Oh, boy.
And we're back. We just wanted to run out this episode to both tell you what we're doing next and tease a little bit of next time. I guess what we're going to do next, the first part of that, is just to finish off this game. There's only 5 missions left. I sense that one of them is going to just involve tying off the loose end of this priest who has been... Father Maguffin since the first mission. So I think there's going to be like 4 levels that we're actually playing and one that kind of ties things off. It could be more than that. We'll see. This sort of game doesn't feel like a game that's going to have a boss battle at the end. Although that's not to say that games similar to this haven't. Certainly Thief had a boss battle.
Careful what you say. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, great. Now I'm nervous.
No, that's not a hint. I'm just saying, there's. Yeah,
you never know. Yeah, I mean, I think that. I mean, I mentioned Thief because that's a very memorable, boss use of Thief skills at the end of that game. That's a game we may talk about someday, so I'm not going to go into it more than that. But that's a game that has a weird sort of boss battle feeling.
By the way, a character named Father. What did you say? Father Maguffin? That's got to be a character that has to be created at some point.
Oh, yeah, at some point.
Somebody's got to make that...
He's in my trunk novel.
Yeah, exactly. Father Maguffin.
Yeah, he feels like he should be in a Hitchcock movie or something like that. I've seen a couple Hitchcock movies in the last couple of weeks. I'm pro on North by Northwest. I'm anti on Marnie. Ugh.
I don't know what... Marnie.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm going to not recommend you do so.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what he saw in Tippi Hedren, I got to say.
Ooh, wow.
Pretty face, no acting ability.
Probably that's what it was.
Yeah, I think she Yeah, we're totally off topic now. But, I saw this on the big screen this week, and I was like, oh, you know what? I saw Marnie when I was like 14. I don't remember much about it. Maybe I'll go see it again. And I was like, well, I could have been okay with never seeing it again. She just doesn't have the acting chops to really to carry something that is meant to be pretty deeply psychological. That is neither here nor there.
That is a tangent, yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty deep tangent. Not even related.
Plus 5 more levels. Temple, City Ambush.
The next one is called, Temple City Ambush, and the last one is called Redemption at Gontrano, which is where we'll re-meet Father Maguffin, I hope. But yeah, there's a handful here, and it looks like we're going back to St. Petersburg as well. So, interesting. I'm curious. to see where all that goes. I feel like it's not going to quite, looking at the names of the levels, I feel like it's not going to quite turn out how I had thought, which is weird because I totally felt like they were setting something up involving you with the clones. But, who knows? You never know.
Well, Last Airbender clone,
Yeah, that last Airbender, that was a little weird. I felt a little Orphan Black seeing that.
Nice.
Yeah, good show. Anyway, so we're going to do those. We're going to finish it off. We will try to kind of move quickly through those last levels next week so that we can talk, kind of do our wrap-up like we try to do. Kind of talk about, the lessons learned or the sort of, what do we call them? Pinnacle? No, that's not the word we're using.
Key takeaways?
Key takeaways, pedestals.
Yeah, pillars.
Pillars, that's the word.
Pedestals.
How many P words could I go for?
Yeah, pedestals and pillars are similar, though. Yeah,
they are. But anyway, the pillars.
Yeah, key takeaways. Yeah, kind of. Good summarizing our thoughts.
But then, the other thing that we talked about offline was kind of one of the most important things we often talk about in game development is iteration, and usually we're talking about in terms of within a single game, like how many iterations on a feature you can get through. But this is a series that's been iterated itself on many times. And you're in a much better place than I am to talk about that generally.
I am. Oh, you mean as far as... It's like, where are you going with that? Yeah, I mean, that's one of the interesting things for me going back to play this particular one, because I haven't played it for so long, and I don't remember a lot of it. I did go back and try to play. I didn't finish my second playthrough, but the original Hitman, the first game, a couple years ago, and was very quickly remembering how old school and how janky things were at that time, but not remembering at the time, and kind of going similar experience with this. And so the cool thing for me though is that even though I love the series across the board, and going back to this particular one, as janky as it is, it still reminds me of why I love the series, and so it got me so excited. I actually went out and got the new one that just came out, which I hadn't purchased yet. I got the first episode and fooled around with it some. So it's interesting, to Brett's point about seeing kind of the bookends in a way of sort of the before and after of where they are today with the iteration on this, because every game they definitely add some fairly significant change to things. That, especially for Hitman fans, is very noticeable.
Yeah, and for me, sight unseen, surprise, surprise, I actually am very curious to see where this game series has gone. And I also picked up the latest game. I actually bought the whole season, so I'm in for a whole lot of levels of Hitman.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'll play all of it, but I do see glimmers. I see these points where I'm like, oh, I see what this thing's all about. In sort of my mind now, the way I think of it is, I think of all my failures as the hitman running through this thing in his mind.
Oh, neat. I like
this
that.
is how this could go.
Yeah.
Like multiple endings. Like, oh no. It's sort of like... the Prince of Persia reboot, Sands of Time, from years ago. Mm-hmm. Where it's like he's actually, spoiler alert, he's telling a story about what happened and every now and again he gets carried away and the character dies and he says, oh, no, that's not what really happened.
Yeah, they build that into... Yeah,
right, they build that into the sort of fiction of like, and I love that. I love that sort of things in games. And so sometimes I'm just trying to find a way to insert that into a game. That isn't supported by this game. But to me, what I think of is like, this is... somebody who's planning out a mission of some kind and imagining how it could go wrong.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
That's really cool. I'm
not going to do that.
Never thought about that before. That's a really interesting kind of subtext to things. Yeah,
that's kind of how I sort of imagine this as a guy who, like, I see some people do this, and I tell them, I used to tell my kids when they were younger to do this, like to visualize what you're going to do when you're doing something difficult.
Vision quest.
Pitching. My sons have both pitched in baseball, and whenever they struggle, I say, just visualize what the pitch is going to be like. Visualize where you're going to put it in the mitt. And I sort of think of that's what the Hitman's doing. He's like visualizing the best way through this thing, and part of that is, oh, here's the different mistakes I could make along the way. So,
and part of that is mass murder.
Yeah, well, sometimes...
Occasionally the visualization is, I'm just going to have to kill everybody.
Sometimes it's just like, God damn it, I'm in this hot desert. There's sand everywhere, and it's itching me. I just can't take it. Anyway.
Dinner's in the oven.
Dinner's in the oven. I got to get to that. So I got to tickle those ribs.
Oh, jeez.
But, yeah. So we're almost done with this game. We're about 3/4 of the way through, and I've enjoyed parts of it. I bounced off of it pretty hard at the beginning. At its best, I really get what you enjoy about this series.
Good, good. Yeah.
At its worst, I want to throttle you. So, so mission accomplished for you, I guess.
It definitely, yeah. It's definitely a love-hate franchise, really, for sure. And truthfully, even the more modern ones, they have their missions that just don't come together, or at least I didn't find the ways to make them to come together. So it's when you make a game that's this systemic and this sandboxy, when they're making them, this sandboxy, you got to take the good with the bad with that, because unexpected things will happen.
Right, and it's also super niche, right? There's not a huge amount of content out there in other forums that is about Hitman.
Mm-mm. Well, especially not with this much player agency, right?
Right.
And if you can imagine, I think, we shouldn't jump to the chase on the iteration conversation to leave it till next thing. But the seed I will plant is the iteration. The reason that it's valuable to this franchise, and it may be one of the reasons that it's kept it alive for so long, is that they are able to add more and more verbs to the sandbox every game, because verbs like that are so expensive and so hard to develop and so hard to do and to make cohesive throughout the whole world systems that you can't afford to do a lot in a particular game. So they kind of just keep adding them.
It makes me even more appreciative of games like Dishonored, where
they have so many right off the bat.
Not only do they have so many verbs, but you can choose which set of verbs.
Yeah.
Right? And they have to support like all kinds of crazy, like, they picked, it sort of goes back to like Jedi Knight or something like that. It was like they picked all light powers versus all dark powers or something like that. But it's a very...
Well, System Shock 2 as well.
Yeah, and System Shock 2. It's just like these systemic games, they're hard enough imagining the player having one tool set. And really, that's what this character has, and I think that's interesting. Is it's an evolving tool set across a franchise, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, wait till you play the new one
next week in detail. I can't. I actually am. I legitimately can't wait, because I think that in a modern era of a little bit better directed player agency, this could be really special. It might swing too far. We'll see. Like, it sounds like Absolution might have swung too far, from what I hear.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious to see, given some sort of more modern design tools and a broader audience, which of course comes from the expense of the games these days. But I am really kind of curious, like, where does this game end up? And that'll be really interesting to talk about next time.
Definitely so.
All right. Well, in the meantime, you can find me at Brett_Duville on Twitter. The podcast is at Dev Game Club. You can find us on iTunes. We'd love to get some ratings on there. Thank you very much for those who have, and keep them coming. Please also send us email at devgameclub@gmail.com. I'd love to read something online one of these episodes, and if it makes fun of Tim, so much the better. Where can people find you, Tim, on the internet?
At Tim Longo Jr. on the Twitters.
On the Twitters. Yes. All right. Well, until next week, we'll see you on the Twitters. And I will be sneaking up behind you, avoiding potato chips in your dreams. All right.
Oh, goodness.
Good night.
Good night.